Let's go ahead. We'll start at 5:30. This is the policy committee. Now we're at, let's see, roll call, please.
Yes, Director Sailors.
Present.
Director Clark.
Present.
Director Costa.
Present.
Thank you very much. All members are present.
All right. So this is the public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the committee scope, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards. No speakers this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That takes us to the consent agenda.
Yeah, I move the consent agenda if there are no.
I second it.
We have a first and a second. No questions? All right, roll call,
Great.
please.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right. Next up is presentation item, Administrative Policy 02.017.03, Policy Development and Implementation. Melissa Maddox, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, directors. Chief Mitchell. I'm Melissa Maddox, the Chief HR Officer for Metro Fire. As you said, I'm here tonight to present the policy 02.017.03, which is the Policy Development and Implementation Policy, which we sometimes refer to as the policy on policies, because that's kind of what it is. So after the presentation that I did at the last policy committee and full board, we went over the all the policies and review that we did over the last year and what we're planning on in the future. And so we felt it important to go over, revise this current policy again, just to make sure this year as we start our path down the new revisions of the new policies that we're still following this policy, or if we need to make changes to it or adjustments, that type of thing. So the purpose of this policy is helps ensure that all district policies are created, reviewed, and approved and maintained in a consistent manner. In addition, this policy helps the district comply with laws, regulations, internal standards, and ensuring that the policies align with the board's direction. So as you can see, there are a few edits in the policy. First one being page 3 under procedures 2. Over the last couple of years, there's been some division changes and within the oversight of the branches. So we wanted to make sure that each division is reflected under the correct branch. There's still some work that needs to be done there if there are future changes with divisions and branches and names. So that's kind of those are kind of ongoing edits as things change. And also, as I said, when I reported out in February, we wanted to memorialize the definitions of what constitutes a board policy versus what constitutes an administrative policy. And so I'm open to suggestions if that needs to be clarified any further based on the edits that we've made already. That was just kind of what we had put in the presentation. So
Could I ask?
Sure.
Right there. Does any board member have any questions on the definition? No. Okay.
Okay.
Please.
I think it's quite clear.
Perfect. So just an overview of the policy and how we go about getting these updated on an annual basis is every year, at the beginning of every year, HR will send out an email to all the division managers and CC the deputy chiefs or the head of the divisions to help ensure the review and the update of all the district policies. Leslie does a wonderful job at putting all the necessary information in that email to the managers, similar to what's in the policy of where they can find their policies, what they're responsible for, which ones need to be updated, what's the template, where can you find the template, and all the directions in there, all of that information's in the apps. It can all be accessed through the app. So her email, like I said, out to all the managers is very, very, very clear and in order of steps. So she does follow up a couple times with those emails if she's not getting anything back, but you know, our managers do a good job at trying to at least hit the policies that are take kind of precedents that are more legal or more important versus maybe just some cleanup in a policy that's not necessarily used on a day-to-day basis. So, but
Sorry, may I ask a question?
yes, of course.
On time frame. So
Mhm.
do we put a time frame in place for expected reviews of those policies? And if we do, who then follows up to enforce that time frame?
We don't, as far as I know right now, I know, you know, like as I said, Leslie follows up with multiple emails. But we do understand how busy the managers are and all the other things that might take precedence over some of the policy review. I know that, you know, everyone does their best job and tries to get them in, but that's a good suggestion of kind of putting a deadline in there, especially since we CC the deputy chiefs and get their help to ensure at least we get, you know, something back from each division.
Great.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So like I said, all the managers and division heads are responsible. And again, in the email, this is all listed out. The managers are responsible to kind of know the applicable laws and regulations that pertain to their division. For instance, you know, CRRD, they should know all the fire code, all that kind of stuff, and what policies need to be updated. We try to have all our policies on a 5-year review. Obviously, that depends on if there's changes to the law, such as the FMLA. You as the policy committee and the full board will probably see FMLA every single year because there's changes every single year that have to be made. But we do want to ensure that at least there's a 5-year cycle on all of the policies, even if they're not board policies or policy committee policies that would go to the full board. There's a lot of policies that you may not see that are always getting updated in the background that are just maybe specific policies to a division. You know, trying to think of an example.
Pertains to administrative, of course.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Running the organization.
Yeah,
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 right.
just
Yeah,
general
that's
stuff
whatever.
that wouldn't necessarily come to the board, but there is a lot of those that are revised on a regular basis.
Then are the investigators' policies revised?
Those are the peace officer policies, Chief Law, before she retired, had just finished a review of which ones need to be updated. So I believe that an outside company is going through those right now to align them with the state and federal regulations. I don't want to overspeak because I don't know enough about the peace officer policies, but
Which outside company is looking at those?
I believe it's Lexipol.
Who?
Lexipol,
Thank you.
but it's just for the investigator policies,
Mhm.
as far as I know.
Okay. That's excellent news to me. Go on. That's it for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay. So, again, the managers are responsible for their own divisions, make sure that their policies that are relevant to their divisions are updated. And identify and review areas of any organizational risk and determine if any of their existing policies address any kind of additional risk. They also would be responsible for developing new policies. HR will assist them with that as far as the template, the board's direction, board policy, what goes to policy committee, what goes to the board. Maybe we can steer them in the right direction of legal regulations that we're aware of that they're not. We work, together with them on that if it's a new policy. And because we know that's kind of a big undertaking, especially for someone that doesn't write policies every day. So Leslie does a great job at explaining the template and the format and what each section needs to be filled out, what needs to be included, which is kind of just boilerplate language that we have to have legally in every policy. So, and then if they, a lot of times managers will come to HR and say, hey, we need to update policy X, Y, and Z, maybe not one that was even on our radar. So that happens a lot too. So it goes both ways a lot of times. So that's always good. So along with the annual reminder that HR does, we also, like I said, we provide all the resources that they need in updating the policies. We have the policy template. We keep a policy review tracking sheet, and what that is once a policy is completed, that tracking sheet gets routed to all the necessary people that need to see it and sign off on it. So sometimes, a lot of times, that will include 522. It'll include the fire chief. Sometimes it may just include the deputy chief or the division manager if it's kind of a lower end policy that's not legalese or anything like that. So it just kind of depends what the policy is, but we do have a review tracking sheet to make sure that every necessary person that needs to see that policy has seen it and agrees to the edits and signs off on it. And we keep that. So there's always a track record of if, down the road, someone says, well, why does the policy say this? Or why did it change? Or when did it change? We track all of that. So,
I have a question on that.
yes.
Does that tracking document have a time frame on it or deadline for review?
Yes.
And what
Yeah.
is that?
It depends on when the last review happened.
Okay.
But you mean the tracking sheet?
Yeah, once you start circulating it for review internally.
Yes,
They have a
yeah.
time frame for review.
Recently, we've been giving people 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yes,
Very good.
depending on who they are, or not who they are, but if we know, for instance, the chief's out of town and we need to wait for him to get back, then we know we need to wait. So
So the extent of review, you may give more time, but typically it's at 2 weeks.
it's 2 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Like if we don't hear back from you in 2 weeks, we're gonna assume that you have no changes.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's in, support of the deputy chief and the fire chief, in response to us saying, we need help getting this completed in a timely manner. So, and again, all of our active policies are found in the policy app. So any employee including board members can go in the policy app and look up any of our policies. We, know that there needs to be some more work in there, especially once divisions possibly get moved around or name changes or whatever that entails. There's always going to be a lot of follow-up on different areas that we need to clean up. So other than that, this policy was an existing policy. It is an administrative policy, so it's just for policy committee. It doesn't need to go to the full board. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have, or edits, adjustments, suggestions.
Whoops. Okay. Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, no, I just dropped my binder. I didn't fall. Just the binder.
Okay. I probably need some English class here, but I found a tense problem on page. I'm sure you do have the automatic computer thing check.
Oh, there's always typos. So I'm open to it.
So on page 5 at the top of the page, under number 7, page references.
Yes.
Section can be used for legal and regulatory citations as well as that of the organization. If the policy document, the way it's worded, if the policy document was in response to legal or regulatory authority, I'm thinking if this is a live document, I'm thinking it should say if the policy document is in response to legal or regulatory authority. Instead of being past tense, it should be a lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
If the policy document is in response to legal. In my brain, it just flows better.
Okay.
It feels better. But
Makes sense. Thank you.
that's the only thing I could find. Everything else looked great. So
Very good. Thank you. Any questions over here?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
But while you're up here,
Okay.
if I may, not on the agenda, but can we look to agendize, I think a question about outside resources and some assistance, and then maybe, is that something that we can agendize? No? Just an update. I think staff is looking at some stuff. Maybe I'll talk to you offline. We could talk about that. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right. So that brings us to the end of the meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 10th. Meeting adjourned.